Welcome. Welcome to 200 hours, 300-hour students in our program, and welcome to community members participating in these Saturday sessions. It's been such a joy to have you join us for our practices on the weekends, and also our practices that are offered on Mondays at 6 p.m. and Pacific time, and also on Wednesdays around lunchtime Pacific time. 3 of these free offerings for the community. And I hope you're able to take advantage of those. And hopefully we can start to even expand those and offer some more. Yeah, so welcome to everyone. Welcome to Yoga for Health and Resilience. This 10-week series of 90-minute classes is offered through Yoga X, a special initiative in the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences in the School of Medicine at Stanford University. This evidence-based protocol is designed by Dr. Christiane Brems, Clinical Factory and Program Director of Yoga X. My name is Gino Carvalho. I am the program manager at Yoga X, and it is my honor and my pleasure to share this practice with you and guide you through this practice. Today, we'll want to have a lot of the things that we typically use, including wall space, blanket, bolster, our blocks, and also strap. You may even benefit from a TheraBand if you have one close by, or a band of some kind. We'll use a special kind of not a special, but we'll use the strap in a loop today. So I just wanted to check in really quick and just explain how we might be able to work that with a typical D ring, which can be confusing sometimes. So here I have the rings in one hand, so 2 rings, right? And then I have the open end of the strap on the other side. And we'll start by bringing the strap through both of the rings. And then we'll get it, we're going to use a pretty small loop, so it'll go around one of your limbs, like your ankle. And then after that, it'll come back through the other way and over the top ring and then through the second ring. So if you can see, sorry, I didn't just demonstrate that very well, but here we go. So you can see those 2 rings, and it's come through, it's coming back over the top and through the second, so that once you get it through, and you have something that can be cinched and won't go anywhere if you were to try to connect this way. So that's something that hopefully you could play with now, but we're going to start our opening centering, but hopefully that informs how you might be able to use the strap later on in our practice today. Blocks, blankets, bolsters, wall space. And once you've been able to gather your resources, I invite you to take a moment to find a very auspicious seat. Once you've found the seat of your choice, a seat that empowers you to find that auspicious experience, whether it be sitting on the floor, on a block, on a bolster, a chair, just taking a moment to make that choice, and then invite a sense of grounding, maybe just noticing the points of contact with the earth. Invite a sense of stabilizing, perhaps just bringing awareness to your center, maybe your physical center, maybe your energetic center, maybe your heart center. And perhaps invite a sense of expansion. Perhaps choosing to close your eyes if that's auspicious. Perhaps choosing to place the palms facing downward or upward, and just noticing how those choices show up for you. And as you sense into the reverberations of these choices, knowing that you can always change your choice at any point into something that's more auspicious. Just taking a moment to notice how that choice plays out. Inviting a curiosity into that experience. And from that place, from that grounding, stabilizing, expanding, and perhaps the recognition of your center, physical center, energetic center, heart center. I invite us all to share 3 cycles of breath cycle that is still uniquely your own and auspicious for you, but also a breath cycle that we share the experience in as a community. At the end of your next exhale, begin your 3 breath cycle. And at the end of your 3rd breath cycle, you're invited to perhaps bring your hands to heart center, maybe bowing your head, if those choices feel auspicious for you. And just for a moment, noticing the experience of intentionally aligning and offering an opportunity to make these auspicious choices as we come together in a community, perhaps breathing in that experience. And with an exhale, sharing it out. And I invite you to lower your hands if they were raised, and perhaps opening your eyes if they were closed. And welcome everyone to session 8 of our 10 series. Wow, it's gone by fast. This series is designed to be an expression of integrated, holistic yoga that is facilitating the aspects of all of our integration and holism as individuals and collectively. Session 8 is dedicated to the 7th limb of yoga, meditation. In the previous sessions, we have explored our outer practices, our ethical foundation, our skills for purposeful living, how we regulate our breath and movement, our energy. And we've also explored the inner practices, turning inward and guarding the senses, and also cultivating a sense of concentration. And today, we will look to expand and move beyond that single pointed focus that we worked on last week into spacious awareness. Spacious awareness with wisdom and compassion. So this is really the culmination of 7 weeks of self-study and practice. It's not just about developing our personal practice. It's about how we carry this practice off the mat and into the world. Because yoga is really about service to the greater good and recognizing our interconnection and acting in ways that reflect that understanding. Which brings us to another framework that we will play with today, and that is karma, the law of cause and effect. And sometimes there's a little bit of a stereotype or a misinterpretation of karma as like rewards and punishment. We're not really thinking of karma in the context of predetermined fate or destiny. It's more about inviting an awareness of choice and action. And it's that spatial awareness between stimulus and response in the moment, where we can pause and make a conscious and discerning choice about how to respond to life rather than react. And how to respond to life with every action that creates an effect, not just for ourselves, but also for our community and the world around us. And it's through this awareness that we can choose actions that bring benefit rather than harm. So as we think about karma, we can think of kind of these 3 categories of karma that might help to recognize how these reverberations manifest in our choices. And there is an auspicious karma, word that we tend to use a lot in Yoga X. And after today's session, I think there'll be a lot of meaning behind the why for this word, right? An auspicious karma is an action that creates a beneficial outcome for ourselves and for others. And another form of karma is an inauspicious karma. And these are actions that create harm or suffering for ourselves and for others. And a third kind of karma is mixed karma. And that outcome might end up having some elements of positive and some elements of negative outcomes. And very often our decisions can be complicated and nuanced, and we are often left with a decision that could involve some positive and negative outcomes in some ratio. And cultivating this skill of through this practice of being able to pause and make a discerning choice between stimulus and response can help us to understand how to navigate this mixed karma that is often one of those very common results that come with difficult decisions in life. So today, I'll invite you to play with the idea of spacious awareness in meditation, right? So to tune into spacious awareness and invite discerning choices on how you can perhaps observe these reverberations, the reverberations of your actions, not just for yourself, but also for your community. And I'll offer a lot of guidance and a lot of choices, but ultimately you are the agent of your own practice. You are empowered, right? Each intentional choice is an opportunity to invite auspicious karma. And so today, as we play with these frameworks, we'll look to explore heart-opening practice that embodies a sense of this spatial awareness with wisdom and compassion. And we'll begin by choosing an auspicious seat for our breathing practice. So you can choose one of those seats that we have played with for the last 7 weeks. Maybe you already kind of know something, but we've added that invitation of inviting a sense of spacious awareness in a heart-opening posture. So I'll give you one more option to consider here, and you can decide for yourself. So this blanket has been rolled, or I should say folded in half and then 3 times. So it's become a length that works with my frame in a way that allows for the outer edges of my body to lay down and feel soft and supported in the center. So as I lay my sacrum down on this blanket and my scapula grounds on the blanket, I can feel an invitation, a very subtle invitation for a bit of elevation towards the center that also allows for a little bit of a lower point of contact for the outsides. So once you consider the proper length of your blanket, you may also consider something that could be an additional layer for the back of your skull that invites an auspicious opening through the throat, right? So that you're not feeling like your throat is too open and exposed, and it's also not an elevation that would close that off at all. And then once you've found your width that aligns with your center channel, this centeredness, of course, you'll decide what kind of leg position or leg shape you may choose. So you could always take your traditional just extension of the legs, lying flat here. But you may also choose to have the feet together and the knees apart, perhaps inviting this butterfly shape. And if you do invite that butterfly shape, this opening, you may decide that you would also like to support that with a blanket or blocks. And just taking a moment to choose how to set that up. You may also decide that that is not an auspicious position for your pelvis and your spine, a little bit of an arch and opening. And maybe it's the footprint wider, allowing for the knees to come in, which creates a little bit more opening towards your sacrum. So you have choices, and you can take that time to settle in and try out these shapes with that invitation to explore spacious awareness and a heart opening, knowing that you can always change your choice, and doing so from a place of very specific intention to take care of yourself, to cultivate that auspicious karma. And as you begin to settle into your seat, continue with those choices, considering a placement for the hands. Perhaps it's grounding the arms and the palms down or the palms up, or maybe the hand placement somewhere on the body. Perhaps noticing how to address the eyes. Maybe it's to keep the eyes open and take in the environment. Perhaps a slow descent of the eyelids, maybe just lowering the gaze. And if and when it feels comfortable, perhaps choosing to close the eyes. And invite an auspicious way to notice your body in all its integration and holism. Not this single focus that's specific to a nuance, but the entirety of the experience, perhaps the entirety of the physical experience in this moment. And if that's a challenge, just notice how you meet this challenge as a way of becoming aware. And just sense what are you bringing with you in this moment, in this physical experience that's unfolding in this moment. And meeting that with an open heart and spacious awareness, with wisdom and compassion. And holding your body in spacious awareness, gently begin to sense into the experience of the breath. A spacious awareness of the whole breath cycle, inhaling, pausing, exhaling, pausing, and if possible, sensing this experience in its entirety. Spacious awareness of the entirety of the energetic experience. And also inviting a spacious awareness of the coordination or the collaboration of the body and the breath. Noticing how the breath moves through you. Maybe it feels like a wave or a pulsation, or perhaps a flowing stream of energy entering through every pore and nourishing every cell. And however you are meeting this experience is perfect. It's perfect. There's no need to judge. There's no need to expect. Simply holding the experience of the body and the breath in spacious awareness. And then gently beginning to notice your mind. Without any need to chase away or get caught up in any stories or any mind states. Just meeting any thoughts and emotions with spacious awareness. Simply holding in spacious awareness the physical experience, the energetic experience, the body, the breath, and the mental, emotional experience in the mind. And in observing the body, breath, and mind, you may also begin to sense the experience of your intuitive wisdom. This place of wisdom and compassion that is constantly there. It's constantly there in the background, guiding how we meet these experiences with spacious awareness. And just take a few more moments to meet all your layers of experience in this community. with spacious awareness in this unified symphony of holism and integration. I invite you to take a moment to perhaps invite this sense of spacious awareness in all the layers of experience throughout the practice today. Even what can sometimes be perceived as a moment in between the practice, in between shapes or in between cues and instruction, these transitional times, perhaps even starting with this transition as you begin to plot out how you might make your way to a seat and transitioning into the most auspicious seat in the most auspicious way for your body, your breath, your mind, your wise, intuitive, compassionate self. And for just a moment, once again, inviting a sense of grounding, a choice of how to place the hands, a sense of stabilizing and expansion, a choice with the eyes. And then making a decision about if you would like to place your hands at heart center, and perhaps bowing your head if that feels auspicious. As you consider your intention for the time that we'll share on the mat today, perhaps it's already there in that invitation with karma and auspicious, spacious awareness, or maybe something else, or maybe holding a space for something that could come up, knowing that you can always change your intention, that you are empowered to make those choices in any moment. And with an inhale, breathing that in, and with your exhale, sending it out. And I invite you to lower your hands if they were raised, and perhaps opening your eyes if they were closed. And once again, considering an auspicious transition as we move from our seated posture into a standing position close to a wall, knowing that we would also like to have perhaps our strap close by. If we also have a TheraBand, it might be close by your mat, just checking in with your resources and very intentionally cleaning off any of the props that you may have used for the breathing practice. And as you make your way to the wall, take a moment to ground into the floor and also start to consider how you may root into the wall. So we ground into the floor, and sometimes that grounding into the floor invites this kind of gravitational rebound through stabilizing and expanding up. but sometimes we can also find benefits in grounding into our props like a wall. So I'll invite you to just consider how far apart your feet what kind of auspicious footprint will provide stability, and then where they may end up in relation to the wall. The more you ground into the wall, the more they may go away, and the closer they get to the wall, the more difficult it could be to ground into the wall. So knowing that you can change that choice at any point based on what you're experiencing. And as I'm going to choose about half a footprint away from the wall for my first footprint. And I'll take a moment to ground through the curves of the spine. So what does that feel like? Same kind of thing as feeling the grounding on the floor. Perhaps feeling the grounding in the sacrum, the thoracic, and then maybe even the back of the skull. And from that position, inviting just a little bit of movement through the scapula, and invite the scapula to feel the wall, right? So we start to ground back into the wall. And as you begin to kind of reach through the back side of the body, notice how it starts to invite an opening in the front of the body. So as the shoulder blades come together on the back side, there's an external rotation that you may feel in the humerus, and there may be this opening that we feel, even if it's just a very subtle sensation here. And as you root against the wall with an open heart, you may decide that you take a slightly different footprint to provide stability there. And just allow for enough shoulder mobility so that it starts to become familiar in this grounding effort, grounding through the legs, grounding into the wall, knowing that you have this support, knowing that you have this foundation that you can rely on, that you can trust. And if it feels auspicious for you, then perhaps starting to add a bit of this abduction to whatever height feels right as you begin to warm up this movement. So against the wall, with the arms maybe just coming out to shoulder height, or perhaps allowing the arms to rise a little bit higher. But the whole time inviting a little bit of grounding into the wall and opening the heart. And as you begin to feel the reverberations of grounding and inviting this spatial awareness into some of the anatomy that we've discussed, notice if there's an auspicious breath pattern, perhaps inhaling up and exhaling down, and noticing how that energetic experience helps to inform the pace, the tempo, or the range of motion. And just notice if there are points in that range of motion that become a little bit more challenging to hold the shoulder blades against the wall. And the next time you go through your breath cycle, invite an inhale and an extension upward, and invite your arms to stay in that upward position. And perhaps from this upward position, you could take a clasp of some kind. Perhaps it's just clasping the thumbs, or maybe there is a connection with the hands or interlacing, or maybe it's just touching together. But beginning from that shape, whatever shape you've chosen that's most auspicious for you, inviting a little bit of this side bend from side to side. Maybe you've decided the little bit wider base will help support this movement. Just notice if you can keep this heart opening as you move from side to side. Noticing if maybe there's a typical habit of side bending and closing, right? And now in this new orientation, as we ground against the wall, opening up the heart, maybe these side bends feel a little bit different. And as you invite that spacious awareness, consider the range of motion that's most auspicious for you as well. And if it becomes a little bit challenging to feel that heart opening, you can continue to go from side to side, but you may also consider an option of playing with this grounding by reaching. You can reach both arms forward, but I'll just do it with one arm so that maybe you can see a little better. And just notice if you can reach the arm forward, but still reach your shoulder blade back. So our orientation is to extend forward, but there is somewhat of a retraction there. And if you do that with both hands simultaneously, then that symmetry kind of invites an opening through the collarbone. You do not have to overdo that reach, just enough to feel the heart opening, the collarbone opening of that shape. And then if you'd like to try that one more time with the side bends, if it wasn't already there, maybe it's something that's just reinforcing. But just inviting that heart opening as you move. For our next shape, we'll play with grounding into the wall a little bit more, and perhaps inviting this cactusine shape that feels heart opening. So maybe using the legs to add a little bit more heat building, and noticing if there is a sequence in this rhythm. Maybe it's everything coming down at the same time and coming up at the same time. Or maybe there's something that's counter to that. Noticing how those choices could potentially provide a little different outcome, and how inviting the sense of spacious awareness, moving with that spacious awareness, can help you make that discerning choice on every little nuance. You might be getting a little bit more heat now that we've been sliding up and down the wall. So just take one or two more if you have that rhythm flowing. And when you're ready, you can lower your hands down. We'll play with a slightly different orientation. And for this next move, we'll turn to face the wall. And I'll start on my left side so that I can see you. But as you turn to face the wall, take a moment to expand the arms out. And maybe you can once again invite that openness in the front that requires somewhat of engagement in the back. So maybe you can feel your shoulder blades starting to come together just by hugging the wall. And I'm going to invite this right arm down. You could be on a different side. So wherever you are, taking that moment to ground through the arm that stays there, just enough to stay stable, and begin to churn your orientation as the footprint starts to turn, for me, turning to the right. So notice the auspicious point of contact with the wall. Is it the shoulder, or is it the palm? Is it the fingertips? Notice if your elbow is aligned in a way that allows for the heart to open, or if that elbow is locked out, making the lever very exert a lot of force into the shoulder. So once you've made some of those choices, grounding down and opening the heart away from the wall, just taking a moment to find spacious awareness in that experience. Knowing that that heart opening invitation is there for you to experience without forcing it, without forcing unnecessary range of motion. When you're ready, perhaps starting to set up and making a mindful transition into the other side. Maybe taking a moment to engage in that same measurement against the wall. and starting to set up how you will transition around. So for some of you, maybe your whole arm is glued to the wall. You can feel the shoulder, the elbow, and the palm. For me, I like to move my fingertips to the wall and be very gentle as I open and invite that rotation around to the left on in this side. And then even offer just a very gentle grounding of the other arm as well. Knowing that you have all these choices to check in with, and that you are empowered to make a different choice at any point as you invite the spacious awareness. And after you've explored that on both sides, just take a moment to come back to your standing shape, maybe allowing it to be a shape that's no longer rooted into the wall. And just for a moment, feeling the reverberations of some of those choices. And for this one, I think I'll kneel down here, but you can remain standing. You could also kneel down if you would like as well. But we'll take your strap, and I know I did tell you to loop it, and if it's a small loop, then you can just keep that there and it'll be ready for later on. And if not, then you can keep it free. You can also, this is a great time to play with a TheraBand if you have that close by. So once you've stabilized in your stance again, we're going to invite a very subtle inhale and arm extension upward, this kind of sun breath that maybe allows for the breath to even connect behind you. And then perhaps this exhale journey. So rather than just being a vertical ascent and abduction, there's a circumduction movement that's going on. So perhaps there's an inhale that really does rotate around and coming to that space where we open the heart in a way that's allowing for the most auspicious, spacious experience here, right? We don't need to force this. If it's a band, it really does allow for a subtle adjustment to take place on either side. There might be a little wobble that you feel as you play with this coming up and down, forward and back, in circumduction. So just inviting this breath to flow with the movement, move through you. And maybe once again sensing into that experience in its entirety. Once you get familiar with this next move. And if you were playing with a band, maybe just taking a moment to try with a strap if you'd like to know the difference, but there's no play with the strap. So whatever was there in the TheraBand is no longer there, and you can definitely feel it happen in your shoulders, right? So you can always be very loose. I should have said this before, but you can be very loose with this hand grip so that you're really doing the same thing with the strap that you would possibly do with the band. You just change your handprint slightly and let it slide through. And then when you're ready, take a moment to arrive back into your standing shape with your arms rested. And we'll come into a new shape and we'll use the strap for this. And we'll start by taking the strap behind over one shoulder. And you'll let a nice long part of the strap dangle behind you. Make sure that there's plenty of strap behind you, that it goes to at least down to your sacrum. And we'll start by raising. I have the strap over the right shoulder, so we'll raise the right arm. And invite an elbow bend as you reach the hand down to the space to about the cervical spine. Maybe it's the back of the neck or slightly below that. And then from that shape, extend the left arm out. And then turn the left thumb to face downward. And as you bring your left arm back behind you, you can invite an elbow bend and perhaps find that strap. So you have the right hand to bring that strap over to the left side in any way that feels auspicious for you. And just notice if there is a place for you to connect. Notice if you want to bring the fingers to touch, perhaps there's no need for that strap. But maybe it'll feel really different on another side. And just notice the heart opening that's occurring. Perhaps inviting a little bit of stability beneath that heart opening. What does that mean? So maybe just grounding the feet, or if you're on your knees, perhaps there's an inner thigh engagement, the legs of the pelvic floor, and then connecting to the breath. And then just noticing if being in this shape for a little bit has changed the experience, just very gently, very easily inviting a release from this, perhaps backing out in a similar way that you came in, and gently, slowly allowing for the arms to return back to this kind of anatomical position, maybe if the palms are facing forward. And we'll take the strap to the other side, or if it works for you to be in the other side, that's fine too. Without any expectations for one side to be like the other one, we'll start to explore this, grounding down and inviting the left arm up, maybe through that inhaling and expanding, reaching up, and then invite the elbow bend as you reach the hand back behind the shoulder, behind the neck, excuse me. And then the right arm will internally rotate, right? So the thumb ends up pointing down, and then we reach back and then invite this elbow bend to take place. So it's kind of like you're sliding the back of the hand, the back of the wrist, up the sacrum or the outside of the hip, and maybe that's enough. Maybe there's a strap there for you to be able to hang out. How much tension is in the strap, right? Noticing if it's pulling apart, that feels, how does that feel in the shoulder? How does that feel in your internal or external rotation? And again, it's very common to be able to perhaps clasp fingers on one side in a way that can't clasp on the other. And notice if you're fighting that heart opening invitation. It's one thing to invite heart opening. It's another thing to force it. So just considering the most auspicious choice. And then checking into that experience with spacious awareness and changing that choice at any point. If you've been in this shape for a little while, very gently allowing yourself to slowly come out of this transition very mindfully, maintaining that spacious awareness and that feeling of open heart. You can keep your strap close by so that we have it for some of our play a little later on. And from here, very mindfully, we'll transition to a lunged shape on the mat with blocks close by and maybe a blanket to soften the floor. So that you can see me, I'll start with the right leg. And coming into this kneeling lunge, this Anjaneyasana kind of shape, I'm choosing to bring my blocks to the highest point. And just check in with the footprint to start. So the front leg and that front foot is inviting a great deal of stability. And just notice if there's an ability to connect to the earth and ground and invite that stability through. Our base of support is basically the outline of the right foot and the left knee in this orientation. And if my foot was right in front of my knee, I might have a lot of lateral challenge. So notice if there's an auspicious width. Maybe it means it's about hips distance apart. Maybe it's even just slightly wider than that. As you cultivate a sense of stability and grounding here. Once you have that sense of grounding and stability in your footprint and the choices, knowing you can always change those choices, perhaps invite a little bit of movement. And with this is an invitation for the pelvis to perhaps scoop forward, and the heart and the collarbone that we talked about, this kind of opening as the shoulders drip back. Let this be a nice subtle move to start, not having to stay in the depths of it, but just gently moving with spacious awareness into how this may feel, knowing that that grounding shape of grounding the front leg, that will also be something that can be a little bit fiery and tiring, and taking care to take a break at any point if you feel that that's auspicious. So with this invitation to come up through the heart, perhaps there's another invitation, maybe even to reach, say, one or both of the arms up, grounding down and stabilizing in the center, and perhaps offering that heart opening shape, coming into this Anjaneyasana, just grounding through spacious awareness and auspicious choices, but also stabilizing and maybe inviting some expansion. Once you've played with that expansion, being very mindful of the choices as you transition to the other side. Once again, considering the print, knowing that our pelvis is unique on either side. We don't have the same expectation with the footprint. Cultivating that spacious awareness as we ground. Choosing the height for the blocks. And then considering adding some of this movement. You might just be gently testing, inviting, exploring. With a specific intention and this guide of looking for that auspicious outcome, knowing that this shape may be very different from one side to the other, so maybe the hands come up, but maybe they don't on this side. And from this grounded shape, just inviting that opening, that spacious awareness with the best choices for you in this moment in all your layers of experience. Take a moment to consider a very mindful transition as you gently release from this shape. And just for a moment, consider a seat as I invite something for the a particular shape for the strap. So we talked about getting this small loop, and perhaps this loop is something that can go around the shape of your ankle, so it's pretty tight. And then from there, maybe allowing for the strap around the ankle to go through the big toe and kind of just between the big metatarsal and the other 4 metatarsals. If you have a really new strap, it could feel a little bit abrasive, but that's just one way to try to create this kind of sandal orientation with the yoga strap. And it's nice and try to let this strap be nice and long and available for one side. So I've made it on my left side so that you can see me, but you can do whatever side is auspicious for you. And taking a moment to start to set up that same shape. And for this one, I'm actually going to choose to soften the floor a little bit more for the knee. And place the right leg in front. So we have this nice grounding shape. And with this strap, I can now, excuse me, I can now invite this strap to be in a place where it's accessible for me to invite the back leg up. Now, without jumping right into pulling through the strap, it's just here for us, perhaps, if we like to. First, give it a try with your active range of motion and the strength, and just see if you can invite this opening in the front through work and engagement in the backside. You can always lean forward through this. You don't have to back bend into it. And if you ever feel like you want to play with that strap and that sandal shape, you can start to invite the heart to lift as the ankle lifts. Maybe you can even take your hand back and invite a little bit of space in the front quadricep, front hip flexor, even your oblique. This takes a lot of heart opening and that kind of rounded shape with the left scapula moving toward the spine. And just allow for the engagement. Maybe you'll feel just a slight kick into the hand and a resistance with the arm. And without letting the leg fling down, just gently starting to think about how you'll come out of that shape. So maybe there's a descent that allows for a softening. Blocks are really helpful for that leverage. And then once you've lowered the leg, then take a moment to change the sandal. Going over to the other ankle. And setting up on that side. Once again, making sure that you have the strap available in the front. Perhaps softening the floor. And then beginning to ground. And allowing for that grounding and stabilizing to invite a little more movement and engagement. Perhaps reaching with that active range of motion. And then maybe inviting a little play with the strap. Perhaps it's up more than back, right? And a nice pad underneath the knee can be something that helps create stability as well. And if you played with something on the other side, you might play with that on this side as well, but not having an expectation and making the most auspicious choice for you in this moment on this side. Allowing that experience to unfold through all the layers of experience. Once again, a very gentle invitation to release without flinging the foot back. Part of that mindful transition, we're careful getting in, might as well continue that carefulness, that compassion as we come out. For now, you can release that strap, but keep it close by. We're not quite done with that. And from here, I'll invite you into a tabletop shape. And for me, I'll have to set myself back on my mat a little bit more. I think you'll be able to see me. And from this tabletop shape, invite the arms to come forward and perhaps the hips come back. And then slowly allow for the chest, maybe the chin as well, to lower down. Now from here we can easily just ground the forearms and allow for this kind of forearm puppy dog shape to invite that heart opening sense. So maybe you can feel the shoulder blades moving towards each other on the back. Maybe inviting a little bit of lift. You can always go to child's pose if you want to take a break here. You can also consider extending these arms a little longer. Perhaps inviting the chest to come down. And once you're here and playing with the experience and you feel like there's room for more auspicious choices, you can take the hands, which you can consider your hand position as well. Is it with your hands interlaced or closer together, slightly internally rotated is okay? Or is it shoulders distance apart? And if you ground the elbows, you may play with lifting the arms. This is, of course, just an option. Once you've once you've played with some of that auspicious choice, you can always change that choice, but just stay there for however long that experience, however long the duration of that experience for you needs to unfold. And when you're ready, consider coming back to that somewhat puppy dog shape and flip the toes and hover the knees and reach the hips up and back to come into a nice auspicious down dog. Perhaps opening the heart and the chest as you lift up through the legs, pushing the floor away. You can stay in puppy dog. You can stay in a child's pose. You have choices. You have power. And from this down dog shape, we'll eventually make our way up to plank. And from the plank shape, perhaps just inviting a little bit of engagement in the shoulders and arms and upper body. You can always lower your knees down. Perhaps lowering the knees down might invite a little bit of awareness on the way down as we start to lower the torso, perhaps inviting the heart to open with a slow descent. And if you took a slow descent that warmed up some of the energies, perhaps just taking a moment to rest once you've landed. Perhaps it's stacking the hands and resting the forehead on the palms. Resting on the back of the hand. And maybe just taking a moment to feel the grounding, but also feeling the expansion through the breath. And when you're ready, consider walking the forearms onto the floor, about shoulders distance apart, with the elbow close to underneath the shoulder, not really far wide from the shoulder. And begin to settle into this Sphinx shape, which invites another open-hearted opportunity. And from this place, just notice that this is not auspicious. This really does kind of force the issue with the arm in a fixed place inviting the opening in the chest. So perhaps coming down and taking a break before some other offerings. But if you are here, you may even consider a little bit of an engagement through the glutes just to allow for the pitch of the pelvis to be the most auspicious alignment at the back, if that's where you're feeling that. Maybe even grounding the back of the legs and considering what's an auspicious distance for the legs. Is it really tight together? Is it slightly farther apart? You can stay here, or you can consider coming down and maybe sliding the hands back and experiencing this cobra shape. So continuing to extend back through the legs to provide grounding so that we can invite this reach and expansion through the heart without getting ahead of ourselves, without having this process be experienced through the neck, right? To really invite it to happen lower down in the thoracic, this extension backward, and maybe even inviting that active engagement. So you could press your hands into the floor, or you could float your hands and invite the strength of the erectors in the back and the muscles of the rhomboids and traps to lift the shoulders. And of course, whenever it's auspicious for you to do so, take a moment to take a break in between. Maybe it's turning the head to one side. Maybe the forehead on top of the back of the hand. And after taking that auspicious break, once again, playing with this heart opening shape in a way that invites whatever expression you feel like exploring that's an auspicious choice for you. So maybe even playing with the straightening or pressing the hands into the floor and inviting the heart forward, but definitely letting the spine move from the bottom up and not getting ahead of things with the cervical spine. You're in charge. You make the choices that work best for you. And after engaging in that heart opening shape, once again, take a moment to ground, maybe turning your head to the other side. So this is where we'll come back to our strap one more time, and we'll invite a similar orientation. So that sandal shape has the strap facing the top of the foot and then coming through the big toe. And from this shape, once again, bringing the length of the strap forward before really pulling and engaging on this. And then perhaps setting up this Sphinx option, or maybe not. Maybe it's down. Maybe you're going to stay down for this and invite that active range of motion. So we may be reaching I'm on my left side, so the left heel towards the bum. And then if it feels auspicious to do so, maybe playing a little bit with that strap. And maybe inviting a little more of this grounding down. And if your hand is available to reach back, maybe reaching back and inviting this open-hearted shape that helps to bring the shoulder into the position where it can reach back. Still grounding down to the other side. Grounding down in a way that allows for stability, even though this is a very asymmetrical experience. And once again, without flinging that back leg, just gently inviting it into a smooth and auspicious transition as we play with changing the strap to the other side. Bringing the length of the strap to the other side. And finding all the other grounding orientations so that left leg is now grounding down. And it might feel like a nice compliment for the left leg to now engage in that after having the stretch. And then perhaps looking for the active range of motion on the other side. And maybe that's enough. The active range of motion is enough. I mean, the strap is an invitation, but it's not necessarily an auspicious choice. And sometimes we've invested so much in getting that strap. We've done the loop. We've put it through the toe. What am I going to do? Not pull on it? Yeah. Yeah. Well, what's the most auspicious choice? Moment to moment. You can always change your choice for the outcome that's most auspicious for you and for your community. Inviting the heart opening and the totality of that experience. So the entirety of the physical experience, the entirety of the breath experience, that idea of the breath coming in through every pore, nourishing every cell, the idea of the whole physical experience, not just the point of contact with the foot and the hand or the strap or the hip flexor. And as you gently make your way out of this shape, you can finally take your sandal off, but keeping the, my sandal's really tight. Okay, by keeping the strap close by. And we'll make a very intentional transition onto your back. So just taking a moment to make your way there, knowing that you've gone through some opening and some heating. And just make sure you have a block close by, a strap close by. A blanket might also be good in a moment. And once you make your way onto your back in this supine shape, I'm going to change just so that I think you can see me better this way. Once you've made your way onto your back, take a moment to consider an auspicious footprint. Maybe there needs to be a little bit of movement, a little bit of wiggle. Check in with that, see how to best serve yourself. And then when you're ready, consider a footprint for bridge, with the knees bent and the feet about hips distance apart. And the footprint should be not right up against the bum, unless that's a really good leverage point for you, but not too far away either. Just enough so that you feel like you can ground down through all four corners or all three corners of both legs. And you may like to have this strap around your ankles for this. So take a moment to just ground down and invite the hips to rise up. And check in with this experience. And staying here for another breath cycle before transitioning, and invite the transition to maintain the normal arch of the back. So you're not rolling down vertebra by vertebra, but you're actually just kind of keeping the arch. So it might be your sacrum that lands first, or at least that's the direction of the skeletal orientation that's coming down. And invite that to come up and down a couple times for you. Notice where your leverage is. And I'm turning my head a little bit. Maybe be careful about which direction, or if you turn your head, see if that's a little bit more auspicious for your spine to stay in this forward orientation. You might even ground down through your elbows a little bit and notice if that adds some extra grounding and some extra heart opening. And if the strap is there and you feel like you would like to engage with the strap, consider perhaps connecting from the shoulders to the strap, to the feet, and inviting this heart opening and hip extension, right? So we've extended the hips so much, it's inviting this opening through the heart. And with that spacious awareness, just taking as much time as makes sense in this active range of motion, pressing down and gently allowing yourself to come down. And if you'd like to do that one more time, perhaps on the last bridge, you could potentially roll down if that feels like an auspicious choice for you. And after you go through one more bridge cycle, then we'll perhaps play with a supported bridge on a block. So you'll come up after your next cycle into a shape that invites a support. So a block has 4 inches, 6 inches, and then even 9 inches. 9 is a lot for that. So just taking a moment to consider what the most auspicious shape is, and allowing for the hips to rest on a block. I chose the foam instead of the cork, just to invite a little bit of softness. You could choose a bolster. You could choose a pillow or blanket there. But after that active range of motion, taking a moment to invite this supported bridge. And from that supported shape, still inviting that sense of grounding and stabilizing, and also expansion. But perhaps without the same amount of effort, and perhaps starting to invite a little sense of release. Noticing the whole physical experience, the whole energetic experience, the whole mental emotional experience, and the wisdom and compassion that you've cultivated through our time today. Take a moment to consider how to very intentionally transition out of this supported bridge shape and invite any complementary movement that will feel auspicious for you. Perhaps it's a little bit of a widening of the footprint with a windshield wiper. Maybe it's to extend the legs long and feel a little bit or invite a little bit of engagement in the glutes. Maybe even stretching the arms overhead. But just taking this complementary moment with an auspicious choice before settling into your final resting space, final resting shape. Consider any blankets, perhaps beneath the knees, maybe even a blanket underneath the ankles, the Achilles, the heel. Maybe a blanket to cover you if it's colder. And beginning to take a moment to settle in to your auspicious final resting shape. And once you've chosen that shape, I invite you to begin to release your body into the earth. To begin to surrender your weight. To begin to surrender your weight to begin to surrender your physical body with trust. Trusting the earth to support you. Trusting the surface beneath you. trusting that connection with wisdom and compassion. I invite you to also release your breath and trusting the breath to the flow of energy around you, trusting your breath to the flow of prana around you. And surrendering your body and your breath, I invite you to also surrender your mind and your emotions and your thoughts to your inner wisdom, trusting yourself in this moment. I invite you to continue to hold this sense of spacious awareness, just sensing your entire being in all its layers right here, right now. However, this spacious awareness arises for you. For some, it may present itself as a very physical sensation, maybe a subtle movement of energy, or perhaps a gentle pulsation, or simply a soft, boundless presence. And this awareness of being. There's no right or wrong way, simply your way. Invite all your layers to be present in this radiant, open-hearted spaciousness. Fully aware of your body, fully aware of your energy, fully aware of your mind, your emotions, your wisdom, your connection to community, your connection to this planet, and your connection to the greater web of life. This is a vast, open spaciousness that is yours to define. It's yours to embrace. It's yours to send outward from your heart through all your layers. And it's yours to send outward as far into your world as it seems right. And sensing into this holistic experience of your entire being without expectation, with compassion for whatever shows up, and with an open heart of trust in your own wisdom, that your choices guide you toward auspiciousness, that your choices reverberate compassion, loving kindness, and joy into all your layers, into all your world. And from this place of radiant, spacious awareness, I invite you into a few minutes of stillness. Gently begin to turn your senses outward. Notice the ground, the air, the sounds and smells. Just take a moment to reconnect to your environment visually. Just choosing wisely how to return your senses outwardly. Maybe invite some auspicious movement, wiggles or stretches that suit you in this moment. Begin to plot your way to an auspicious seat. And as you begin to settle into your seat, once again, grounding, stabilizing, and expanding. Just taking a moment to notice if there is anything in our practice, in our time together, that you would like to take with you. Perhaps bringing your hands to heart center if that feels auspicious, and closing your eyes and bowing your head if that feels right. Noticing any connection to an intention or auspicious karma that you would like to take a moment to breathe in, and with an exhale, send out. I invite you to lower your hands and lift your gaze. Thank you all for sharing your practice with me this morning. It is my pleasure and honor to share this time with you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you next Saturday. For all the 200 hours, we'll take a bio break and return here for a debrief. 300 hours have a link that they will join. And community members, thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you in some of our sessions coming up.